welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be showing you how I made a pair of suspenders. I have this pair of suspenders that I wear all the time and I absolutely love them. I made them probably about a year ago out of some pieces of clips and such that I got from the thrift store. Because I wear these so much, I thought it would be great to have another pair of suspenders that were blue to go with these pink ones so that I could have a blue and pink pair of suspenders to go with my blue and pink aesthetic. How many times can I say blue and pink in a sentence? Anyways, so if you want to see how I made a pair of suspenders like this, then keep on watching. So here are the suspenders I'm working with. Right here I'm just cutting the hardware off so that I can use them for the suspenders I'm going to make. But don't worry, I'm going to keep the elastic in case I need a wide piece of elastic for something else. Always want to recycle when I can. While I was doing this, I tried to take a good look at how the suspenders were put together and where the different pieces of hardware needed to go so that I could put together the ones that I was making properly. There's a lot of different ways that you can design suspenders. Some of them have two straps in the back that crisscross. That's what the situation was with these ones. But I decided to change the design a little bit so that there's just one strap in the back and two in the front. Now I had the hardware separated, and I decided to use a piece of white cotton blend fabric for the main structure of the suspenders. And basically what I'm doing right here is kind of a cheat. I ripped the fabric by measuring and then cutting a little nick in the fabric and then ripping along the grain, and you're probably not supposed to do this, but I found it really useful. It's a little bit of a cheat. Keep in mind, I am not a professional seamstress by any means, so maybe don't listen to everything I say. Ripping the fabric helps me get straight lines, and I cannot cut straight lines for the life of me. Ripping the fabric can make the edges pucker a little bit, so I just stretch them out to kind of get rid of that. Then I kind of put the hardware up against the fabric to see that it was going to be usable width. It was a little bit too small, but I just decided to go with it, and they turned out fine. Then I just went ahead and ripped another piece of fabric so that I would have enough length. Then I measured from my waist to the back of the base of my neck so that I could get approximately the length that I needed the two front straps to be. Then I measured the back strap. Basically just measured around my body to see how long the different straps needed to be. I ended up with 3 strips, 2 for the front and 1 for the back. The one for the back is actually quite a bit longer than the actual length of my back so that the suspenders would be adjustable. Depending on where the waistline of the skirt or pants that I'm wearing, it's nice to be able to adjust them. I did end up making the strap in the back be a little bit too long, so just know that you don't actually need that much extra to make the suspenders be adjustable. Once I had the pieces, I just got right into sewing. I did it by hand, but you could totally do it by a sewing machine if you want to. I just have a habit of sewing things by hand. Basically, I just folded the fabric lengthwise and sewed along that long side to make a long, slender fabric tube. Later, we're going to flip this tube right side out so that you have the seams on the inside. If you're using a patterned kind of fabric, then you're going to want to do the sewing with the nice sides of the fabric facing together so that when you flip the tube right side out, you have the really nice, vibrant, crisp side of the fabric visible. Excuse the fact that I could not, for the life of me, get my camera to remain focused on my hands, so it kind of goes in and out a few times within the sewing footage, so just ignore that. After sewing at the table for a while, I decided to move to the couch to just be a little bit more comfortable. This is a great time to just kick back and watch some YouTube videos or Netflix or whatever you choose. So we'll just speed through a little bit of sewing here. Once I reach the end of the tube, I don't actually sew up the end, just tie it off and then flip it inside out, or I guess right side out. Especially with narrower strips of fabric, this can take quite a bit of time and quite a lot of practice, but it's very satisfying once you get used to it. Once I had the fabric flipped right side out, I sort of tried to tuck the raw edges into the tube, and then I used a whip stitch to sort of just keep it tucked under. You could use an invisible stitch or honestly basically any stitch. You're not really going to see this part very much when the suspenders are done. When I was doing this, I tried to keep the long seam in the middle so that when I slide this little piece of hardware onto there, I can keep the seam folded to the back where you're not really going to see it once the suspenders are actually on, if that makes any sense. Hopefully you can sort of see what I'm doing here. I basically just folded the end of the suspender tube around the edge of the suspender clip, and I also used a whip stitch to keep this in place. Then just do this for the other front strap. I did this on the back strap as well, and then put the adjusting hardware on there, but I ended up doing this totally wrong and it was just really confusing and I had to re-sew this part, so I don't know, just make sure you really understand the suspenders before you do this because I just did something really weird. So I cut out the stitches and redid it. I ended up sewing this part wrong multiple times, so I kept needing to take the stitches out and re-sew it because I am actually stupid, so make sure you understand your suspenders before you actually start stitching everything together, unlike me. Basically, you want the fabric to be passing through the suspending clip, but have the end actually be attached to the adjusting hardware. The only way you can really understand this is by actually looking at a pair of suspenders, but if you get the hardware from an actual pair of suspenders from the thrift store, then you have a pretty good opportunity to just take a look at how they work and get to understand them. So now I'm passing it over to the Miranda from the moment. So at the end of one of the front straps, I did the same tucking under and sewing with a whip stitch thing that I've been doing, only I did it at an angle. It's not a perfectly straight line, but you know what? I could care less. And for this one, I'm just going to do a mirrored angle, if my camera will focus. But yeah, I'm just gonna do a mirrored angle and then stitch the flat edges together. You'll see what I'm talking about. So now you can hopefully see a little bit of what I've done. Now when they're sewn together, you can see that it kind of just makes them, makes like a straight strip, only it has an angled seam. But when you fold it over, you have this little angle. And the good side and the bad side are on different edges here, so that when you fold it over, you have the good sides on the same sides. If that makes any sense. Now I'm going to sew the back strap to this part. So at this point I tried the suspenders on and realized that the back strap was way too long, even when I adjusted the suspenders to as short as they could possibly go. It was still way too long, so I had to cut some of my stitches out and restitch them after I cut the length to be a little bit shorter. So yeah, that's what's going on here. So don't be like me, please try and check how things are going to go together before you actually sew them, because it'll save you a lot of time and effort. Then I sewed the back strap back onto the ends of the front straps, and yeah, that's basically it. It's pretty straightforward. Once the main structure of the suspenders was done, I just ironed them to make it nice and flat and easy to work with. Then it was time to decorate the suspenders. If you're using a patterned fabric, or even if you are just using a really simple fabric and you want them to be simple, you don't need to decorate them at all. But what I decided to do is sort of weave some blue ribbon through the suspenders. You'll probably be able to see what I did a little better once they're finished, but basically I cut tiny little holes into just one layer, the front layer of the suspenders, and sewed the end of the ribbon to really close to the clip, and then sort of weaved the ribbon through the little tiny holes that I had made. I did the holes about an inch apart, but I only did this through the front layer of the fabric because I didn't want the ribbon to be going through the back as well. It just made it all look a little bit cleaner. I only did this on the 2 front straps as they're pretty much the only ones you're really going to be seeing, so I didn't really want to waste the ribbon on the back strap. At this point it was getting pretty dark and pretty late, so I decided to stop filming, but I did a little bit of sewing in the evening. So it is the next day, and I've been working on stitching down the ribbons here because they aren't staying like fanned out and as wide as I'd like them to. I would like, there we go. I'd like the edges to be more flat, you know, so that you can see the whole width of the ribbon. So I'm just doing little tiny whip stitches along the side, and it does take a little while, but I think it will be worth it. So yeah, I'm just gonna get into sewing that. So this of course took a really long time, but I wasn't in any kind of hurry, and I think it made them look a lot nicer, so I'm not sorry that I did it. Okay, so I have finished stitching down all of the ribbon, and I think now I'm going to try embroidering some flowers between some of the ribbon gaps here, sort of like in every other gap. And I think I'm going to do that with a blue silk ribbon that I have. So yeah, I'm just gonna get on that.
He likes the life, and this is what he said. Oh, how I hate to get up in the morning.
I am totally a novice at embroidering, so if you actually know what this stitch that I did is called, please let me know because I honestly don't even know what it is. But I thought it looked really pretty for a flower, and I got this beautiful embroidery floss from an antique store. I would not usually buy like a silk embroidery floss because that is way too expensive for me. So I finished embroidering the fleurs. Wait, is the mic on? Yes, it is. Finished embroidering les fleurs on here, and I only ended up doing one on the base of each front strap, and honestly I think that's good enough, and it doesn't have to do with the fact that I am too lazy or anything, but so these flowers kind of took forever, so I didn't really want to do them all the way along the strap, and one of them turned out a lot better than the other one. The first one was actually way better, this one here, and they're kind of asymmetrical, but nobody's perfect, so it'll have to do.
Someday they're going to find him dead.
Here are the finished suspenders. I wear them all the time and I absolutely love them. If you don't have a pair of suspenders, I highly recommend making a pair because they're wonderful and can add so much to any outfit. So I hope you enjoyed this video of me turning suspenders like this into suspenders like this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, rate, and subscribe and all that jazz, and I'll see you next time. Bye!